My name's Fintan. I'm a lecturer in a business school. I'm also the Director of Work Placements. Well, I think one thing you very much notice about students who've come back from a placement is they've got a lot more confidence than they had when they'd gone out on placement. And I think that's probably built because they're holding down a real job, asked to do some real tasks, and perhaps present and all that kind of thing, and they develop confidence and a maturity which perhaps you don't see in students who haven't had the benefit of a placement. Additionally, they're also a bit more realistic about the workplace and what is expected of them, and this comes into the way they approach their studies as well, because they're a bit more realistic with regards to theory. We love to stuff students full of theory from our books and our research, all the rest of it. But of course that theory, you need to be able to critique theory. You need to be able to see where that theory fits and doesn't fit. So one of the great things that I see is the students come back and they're able to be much more critical and much more evaluative about the theory that they're discussing. They're able to see where it does apply and perhaps also where it doesn't apply in a much more clear way, rather than just, if you like, looking at it from a book point of view. So it's this bringing together of theory and practice, I think, is really fantastic and invaluable, and it very much helps their studies. And another aspect I think is very important is that they develop contacts. Often many students will base their dissertation, or rather use the contacts they've gained through their work experience to help them complete and gain empirical data for their dissertations, for example. Perhaps contacts they would never have had before without that. So, and that can be invaluable. They have a network of their own that they can tap into and keep up, and that helps them, both in terms of direct impact on their dissertation, but also, of course, for the future, for looking for jobs and career opportunities further down the line. I mean, one thing I think is very important is that, we lecturers do try and inform students about the opportunities they can gain, the invaluable opportunities and the networking possibilities they can gain from undertaking a work placement at level 2. And certainly any student comes up to me, I'll always try and impress that upon them. There are some students, I should say, that perhaps have come in from the world of work, and for them it's not so important, but certainly for somebody perhaps has just done a part-time job or a Saturday job, that kind of thing, absolutely invaluable, the experience they get, a sustained work discipline for a whole year. However long or short the placement is, I would say in essence, similar skills are borne out, things like just the discipline of going to work, to be there at 9 o'clock or whatever the time is. So good timekeeping. Also, it's time management in the sense of, if your boss asks you to complete a task by Friday the 23rd, whatever it is, you've got to complete that by Friday the 23rd. You don't have time to, let it go on forever, for example. You get to understand the rhythm of the working life. You get to understand the language, and each individual office has, in a sense, its own language, and certainly every sector of industry has its own language. So we get to know the language, the etiquette of communication, how you communicate with people. One of the, I think, big mistakes that students make these days in our very texting environment is that, they can say hi, bruv, to, the managing director, for example. That doesn't necessarily wash at all. So to understand the etiquette of how you produce, and different companies are different, of course. Some are very easygoing and they want the first name terms all round. Others much more formal, and even within companies, certain people are much more formal. So that's another thing that you learn about the etiquette of the workplace as well. So coming to Brunel University, I think, is particularly apt for those seeking work placement, because of course the work placement is an ingrained part of the Brunel culture and heritage ever since it gained its Royal Charter in 1966. So in a sense, Brunel University has had a head start in this, and as a result it's no wonder that we've got a PCC, a Placement and Careers Centre, that won lots of prizes because the accumulated knowledge and experience over those years is used to great effect to, if you like, have pointers to jobs within industry and to actually help students, we coach them, help coach them get those jobs in industry as well. I should say industry, commerce, public sector and charities. But most of the jobs that people go for from the business school tend to be for enterprises. So anyway, this history, I think, is something that we rely a great deal on. And in the region then, Brunel University has got good reputation with firms because some of these firms have been having students for years. So we've got quite a close working relationship in this three-way relationship between the employer, the university and the student. As the Director of Work Placement, of course, I certainly try and work very closely with my colleagues in the Placement and Careers Centre. And I will have perhaps some understanding of students and what's being asked of the students in regard to the 4 different pathways, so I can help brief my colleagues on the kind of things that they know about perhaps and perhaps don't know about. And also if there are issues and problems that perhaps some students have, sometimes the PCC will refer a student to me and ask me about them, and I will try and meet up with them and talk to them and try and get to the bottom of whatever issue or problem. There can be all sorts of things that can impact, of course, the ability of a student to perform well at an interview, for example, all the rest of it. So in that sense, I act as a fallback and try and talk to the students to find out perhaps the motivations for getting a job or not getting a job or looking for a job in a particular place, and I can look at what they're studying and if you like, provide some argument about what could benefit them, if you like, in terms of a placement opportunity that might arise. Because I am the Director of Work Placements, I am naturally interested in work placements. I believe in the value of work placements. I believe very much in this 4-year programme with the 3rd year out in industry and how it brings theory and practice together. So perhaps I bore some students to death, but I do bang on about, if you like, theory and practice, and if you get a placement, how you'll get that experience and learn about the world of work and what advantage it is for you when you complete your studies and that you can go out as a graduate with advantages that perhaps other students who've just done the 3-year degree won't have. And that's the kind of thing I do try and impress on my students. We're trying out some new approaches. I call them theatric methods, and it's to try and, rather than listening to me banging on the whole time, we take the message and put it into a fictional within a fictional theatric dramatic device and get professional actors to play it out. And we go for gags as well. We go for humour. And in this way, rather than a student, getting passive, this message, passively, they get it actively because it's a constructivist perspective, and as a result, they have to think about these things and form their own conclusions. So, for example, a duff CV, what kind of problem some people do is they write a cover letter and maybe they put in, maybe they're applying to IBM, but they've left in Hewlett-Packard. So somewhere down the letter you got. So that's the kind of thing that, of course, any prospective employer isn't going to be impressed by. And things of that nature, how to do well at interviews, for example. How to convey yourself, how just to be polite even, and to listen to what questions are being given to you, to answer them, and to give you some understanding, real understanding of what it's like to be in that situation, and therefore to do your homework. And then another important thing is to do your homework. So we're trying to use these methods to apply them. They're still a little bit experimental, but we've run them twice so far, and we've found, I think the students enjoyed them, and they felt they learned quite a lot from them. And another aspect I think is very important about here at the Brunel Business School is the fact that we've got different services working very much hand in hand. The business school, we have a business life program that helps with ongoing structured career development, such as, for example, Excel classes. And they work in close partnership with the Placement and Career Centre, who offer advice on CVs, on attending interview, how to face interview, how to handle interview, for example, by telephone, how to handle yourself when you go to selection centre, those kind of things. So it's all an integrated whole that it tries to focus on the student and to ensure they can get the best out of their student life here at Brunel University. We have here at Brunel University and through the Brunel Business School and with help from the PCC, Placement and Career Centre, we have, if you like, all the devices that can help you get a job. All you have to do is apply yourself.